Nick's prepared. It looks like. There you go,
I
Sal.
don't know if these are Elton John
So,
glasses or like Flava Flav. I'm not really
yeah,
sure.
Well, I think
we'll
one of
take the
in
hybrid.
one of his er no in one of his eras, definitely that was very the mirror or like the dark glass. Absolutely, no. I think you're on point here. This is good. This is good.
No, I
Um,
think they say pimp on the side. I don't know. No, I'm just.
well, when in Rome, but
Right. We already got some good stuff to throw in there later if we want
yeah,
to,
look at
or
that.
some
Look at that. Some C-roll. Look at that.
some sea roll. Yes, that sounds like some sushi. We're just talking about sushi. I'll take the sea
Ooh,
roll,
Yeah,
please.
there you go.
C-roll. Nice.
Shrimp tempura. So there's only been one or two times in my life when I've been in the zone with sports.
Ooh,
Like I'm talking hitting like 18, 19 shots out of 20, playing, just dusting people on the basketball court is the example I'm going to give you. What does it take for
nice.
you to get in, quote unquote, the zone as a musician?
If you get to that point in the show, and then you asked, how do I know? This is crazy, though. So this has only happened maybe 3 times, but I felt a sensation of floating somewhat, where everything that I was doing physically, I was so in control of it that I was almost out of control with it, and almost not fully present in my own physical body, and I felt a sensation of floating, and that's happened, I think, maybe
Yeah.
3 times.
This episode is sponsored by Elton and Me. On September 25th at 7 o'clock, Elton and Me is coming to the Studio Theater at Allied Solutions in Carmel, Indiana. And this show features our friend Salvador Liberto on the piano. He'll be performing his own original music, but he's also bringing the Elton John experience with him. The songs, the piano, the glasses, the jackets, the whole thing. And this isn't some giant arena where you're watching the show from a half a zip code away. This is more of an intimate theater. So we're talking about 100, 150 seats. You're close to the music, you're close to the performance, close to the story. And after sitting down with Sal on Mosaic Minds podcast, I can tell you this is not just some guy playing Elton John songs in a sparkly jacket. There's heart behind it, there's story behind it, there's a real love for the music behind it. So if Elton John's music has ever been a part of your life's soundtrack, this is one you should put on the calendar. Again, that's Elton and Me, September 25th at 7 o'clock p.m. at the Studio Theater at Allied Solutions in Carmel, Indiana. Tickets are available now at mosaicmindspodcast.com and use the promo code Salvador for $10 off at checkout. Welcome back to another episode of Mosaic Minds. Tonight we have a returning friend of the show and someone who's been a great supporter of the podcast. We have Salvador Liberto. Every time I see your name, Sal, I want to say it super Italian, be like Salvador Liberto, like just get real Italian with it.
That's good. That's good.
You like that? I was like, okay.
Yeah.
If you caught our episode with him before, you saw that Sal, he's a piano player, singer behind Elton and Me, which was here about a year ago. I think it was about a year ago now, right?
Yeah,
like
right. June of last year.
June, right? And he's coming back again this September 25th, I believe.
Yeah,
and I'll be we'll have all of that here on the screen and everything here in a little bit, but he'll be coming back, and he does Elton and Me, where he does Elton John classics. He does some of his own originals. And he's going to be flying from Boston to Carmel to do that on the 25th at the Allied Solutions Center of Performing Arts. So, again, we'll have more information about that here in a little bit. But welcome back, Sal. Good to see you as always.
Well, pleasure to be back with you guys, and congratulations on your continued success on the podcast. And I still love the name. I love the name.
Thank you.
Mosaic Minds, because it just opens up so many possibilities and so many different ideas. Every time I think about it, there's a whole mosaic of concepts that I want to entertain. So congratulations on that. Great to be back with you guys.
Thank you. So tell us what's been up with you. What's some new things going on in your life and in your career, in your performances, whatever. Like, what's some things that you've been up to?
Well, I'm super focused on this show coming up. Been recording some new music, working on some new music, and then conceptually in my show, Elton and Me, bringing some new Elton John songs I've never played before into this show, or some songs I haven't played for a while. And then in this show, I'm also going to be doing some songs that I didn't perform last time in Carmel. So if you came and saw me in Carmel, you're going to get at least a slightly different show this time. Of course, I'm going to play,
Nice.
Rocket Man, and I'm going to play Tiny Dancer and Your Song. But I've got a couple of different Elton John songs. I'll give you one example. So every time I think about Elton and your region of the country, Indianapolis, there's a name that always comes to mind, and it's Ryan White. You guys remember?
Yeah.
Oh,
Ryan?
absolutely.
yeah.
So Ryan White, of course, a pioneer in the fight against AIDS, and was bullied in school. All those terrible stories, and then he's like this brave hero that gets in front of Congress. Obviously, passes away. Very sad circumstance. But what a lot of people may not remember is Elton John befriended the Ryan White family.
Yep.
And I'm gonna perform a song. In fact, I'll play a little bit of it now. I'm gonna
I know
perform
what
a song
it is. Go ahead.
called "Skyline Pigeon," which Elton sang at Ryan's funeral. So it's a beautiful song.
Okay, that's not what I was thinking of, but go ahead.
Oh, you're thinking of "Candle in the Wind," weren't you?
Yeah, I was thinking the Candle in the Wind. Yeah.
Well, I'll
Sounds-
play that too.
Sal and Spirit, right before you get started, to give you a few seconds to prep there's a kind of a video that they're doing now. I think they use it in Europe, but they actually roll out the red carpet. So with that spirit in mind, we're rolling out the red carpet, and you take it from there.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, Jason. So this is it's called "Skyline Pigeon." Turn me loose from your hands. Let me fly to distant lands, over green fields, trees and mountains, flowers and forest fountains. Home along the lanes of the skyway, for this dark and lonely room projects a shadow cast in gloom, and my eyes are mirrors to the world outside, thinking of the way that the wind can turn the tide. Shadows turn from purple into gray, for just the skyline pigeon dreaming of the open, waiting for the day he can spread his wings, fly away again. It's a beautiful song, and then it goes, fly away, skyline pigeon, fly toward the dreams you left so very far behind. Fly away, skyline pigeon, fly toward the dreams you left so very far behind. So yeah, that'll be nice to play, and just to remind folks of Ryan, I think that'll be a really nice tribute within the tribute. So that'll be good. I look forward to that.
So are you gonna talk a little bit about Ryan White then? About
yeah,
okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very cool.
And Elton became, so what was really interesting too is Elton became close with the White family. They went through that tragedy, and then Elton turned his life around after that, because he said, look, I'm never complaining again after I saw what these people went through, and cleaned himself up, got off alcohol, got off the drugs, and and then started the Elton John AIDS Foundation, which has raised probably close to $1 billion now to fight AIDS, especially in countries where they don't have the kind of medical care that we have here. So really an inspiring story, and just someone that made the best out of a very difficult situation, both he and Ron.
That was a really inspiring story, and that was something that if somebody wrote a script and just wrote that whole story, they couldn't have wrote it any more perfect for that cause, because he like his was some fluke thing anyway. It came from a blood transfusion.
Right.
And so it was
Yeah, he's a little kid,
yeah,
basically.
yeah, little kid.
I think he lived to about 18 or 19, but yeah, just terrible, terrible circumstance. And then bravely, making the case. And I think because of Brian, you have the disease has been it's not been cured, but it's been kept at bay.
It's very survivable now.
There are people alive now, plenty of people alive who have it, and are still, Magic Johnson among them, who are still alive and doing quite well. So, great job, Ryan White.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I can't even remember what part. Do you remember what part of Indiana he was from? Was it?
I thought it was close
South
to
Bend?
Indianapolis. I thought
he went to Marion High School. I could be wrong on that.
Is that in
But
Indianapolis?
we're going to call it Central Indiana.
There
I think is a safe because he was within about a half hour radius of Indianapolis. I think in a town of sports legends, honestly, the way that he presented himself and the bravery that he had, I mean, he was a warrior. Not only did he show grace, but he was speaking on something that was far greater than just him. And I think that transcends, your music as well. When you look at the feel goodness, the tempo, the excitement you get out of that, and then the music that you play, the songs that you play, I think it's a high energy show. I think everybody should come out to Carmel and kind of enjoy the fun. It's just a kind of a trip down memory lane over the multiple years that you perform under.
Yeah, thank you.
Why, Sal? Why did you? Just curious. Why did you choose have it at? I know a lot of times whenever you come back to another area, to do a performance, people will go to a different venue or whatever. Why did you choose the same one that you went to last time?
Because I made a mistake. The first time I came, it was on a Sunday. The show was a Sunday, a matinee, which has had. I've done that off and on. I've had some success with that, but I found that in that market that wasn't necessarily the time to have that show. So I switched it. Now I've switched. I wanted to try the Friday night, but you're absolutely right. Yeah, you would mix and match. But because I thought, I think I sort of said, well, I think I can do better, so I'm going to do the Friday night show.
Okay.
But also
A/B testing.
But so maybe testing, but also they were very good to me and very supportive of what we were trying to do, and I felt like that's a kind of venue, that's a sort of venue where I'd like to return, and I've got several venues around the country where I've been a few times. Like there's a center in just outside of Dallas in Richardson, Texas, that's been really good to me. There's one in Ocean Springs, Mississippi. There's a library in Louisiana that always put on a pretty big show, and lots of people come out for that. Yeah, so there are a few different venues that are pretty special to me, and that's one that's quickly becoming special to me. And hopefully, they have a fog machine,
Yeah, right.
And really beautiful. We got me a really beautiful Yamaha grand piano to play on. And so, there are lots of venues in your area that I could try out, and would love to hear your suggestions.
That was the first time that I've been to. I keep wanting to call it the Palladium, but the Palladium is actually a separate building in that same campus.
Yes.
But yeah, to Allied, that's the first time that I've been there. But yeah, it was really nice. I really enjoyed it, and I was looking at some of the lineups that they even have for this year. Like in August, they have Gladys Knight. And,
they're going to have some big time performers. And they have different. I think they have 2 or 3 different venues, and so mine's in a smaller setting, so we'll have 100. It's a little more than 100 people can fit in there comfortably, and I think that that's perfect for my show. But Gladys will probably play to 1,500 people, something like that.
Sal, I got to say though, regardless of the genre of music, when you see your name on the mezzanines on the lights, it's just a perfect name for presenting and showing a happy tone, an upbeat tone. And, I think you played up well. One of my favorite outfits was, I'm going to call it glitter's the wrong term, but the turquoise outfit that you wore that kind of had a little flair to it, a little excitement to it. I thought that flowed with the music. Talk to us a little bit about your choice of wardrobe.
Well, sure, and we got to have the glasses too. Jason, I got to bring the glasses out. So
Nice, yeah.
we'll do some star glasses and various other Elton-esque kinds of glasses. We'll have some shiny clothes, and I think this Joe will probably be a split between some shiny and something really slick. That's a nice suit. That's kind of like more the me version rather than the Elton piece. But the funny thing is about that is in within the studio or the theater, you can set the temperature way down, and so you can be cool, um, or you kind of be medium. But a lot of the clothes we wear on stage they make us kind of hot, so we've got to figure out. So I was actually thinking I might want to get a light suit for this one because, like you say, it gets kind of up tempo, and you could be sweating up there. Here,
I'm
I'll
sure
play
the
a
lights
little.
are hot too.
Thank you. Yes, the lights are hot too. So it's just finding the right temperature. Sometimes you get inside your own head, and then you're like, you know what? Just stop. Just play your songs, enjoy yourself, and it'll take care of itself. I grew up in the South, so I'm used to being hot. It's okay. But let me play a little of this one. This is called "Now's the Time," and because Jason mentioned upbeat, this is a pretty positive song I like to share with everybody. One that I wrote. I don't care if you're young or old. I don't care if you're fast or slow, you still have a calling. Your heart doesn't beat in vain. Doesn't matter if your life's been tough or if you have given up, as long as there's tomorrow, can find a better way. Here we go. Now's the time. Don't be scared. Gotta lay it on the line. Pour it out. All the while, go and set the world. Set it on fire. So that always gets a pretty good round of applause. I think I wrote that, Jason, trying to think about all of us, the things that we all need to work on and make sure that we're living out to our callings.
So answer this for me because that kind of piggybacks that thought. Talk to me a little bit about in sports we call it repetition or practice, however you want to call it. Scout team. There's a lot of things I could go, but bring me into playing that song in that environment versus playing the exact same song in front of an audience. Hey, Nick's prepared. It looks like. There you go, Sal.
I don't know if these are Elton John glasses or like Flava Flav. I'm not really sure.
Well, I think
we'll take the hybrid.
In one of his in one of his eras, definitely that was the mirror or like the dark glass. Absolutely, no. I think you're on point here. This is good. This is good.
All right. Now, I think they say pimp on the side. I don't know. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, when in Rome, but or Amsterdam, I don't know which. But
right.
But Jason, yeah, I think I think there's always an element of muscle memory and you want to. I think any good practitioner, can deliver their song in sort of any conditions. I'm among friends, so I'm feeling good. You play in front of an audience. Sometimes an audience doesn't know you very well, and so there's a little bit of a hesitancy. And so I like to lean in on a song they know, like a Tiny Dancer or She Packed My Bags Last Night Pre-Flight, like a Rocket Man or a Candle in the Wind. Goodbye, Norma Jean. So I like to lean on those songs that they're gonna know early in the show to build up that familiarity, and then I like to hit them maybe with something that they weren't expecting. Like I have a song I wrote about someone who was super important to me. That's a very emotional song. It's clear that the person has passed away. It's a song called Mary Beth, and the lyric is, no one could love you like Mary Beth. Gather you up in a bundle of hope and peace, take you shopping or bar hopping, take you dreaming of all the ways to be. She was the last one there when everybody left. No one could love you like Mary Beth. And that's a very emotional song, and I invite people in the song to reflect on the first person in their lives that they felt loved them unconditionally, and and so I think at that point you start to build that rapport and also that trust with the audience, and also at an emotional level there's kind of an understanding of what's happening in the space. And often I hate to say it's formulaic or strategic, but it's just, this is just some of the building blocks of how you get an audience a little bit more comfortable and feeling a little bit more open emotionally. And then when you get to that song, Now's the Time, a song they need to hear that song at that point, because maybe you've brought them on a little bit of an emotional journey, and now they need that reassurance from a song, or they need that they want to feel that joy that comes from a song that says, look, live from your purpose. There's really not much else you should be doing. And I think there's something reassuring about that. But I think
That's
there's a
interesting.
bit of
Yeah.
an emotional journey that has to happen before you can get to the song. You can't open the show with "Now's the Time," especially if they've never heard it before. Now,
Right.
if you're and I would never presume I'm not famous or anything, just a guy working on trying to get people excited about his show. If millions of people know that song, then you can lead with it fine. But you've got to. My show is about bringing people along a little bit with a combination of familiar and new. So that's a really great question in terms of how you approach what you expect the audience reaction is going to be, and then just myself, how I'm feeling, because we feel different day to day. We all, as much as we try to be really consistent in our routines, every day is different from the last. So.
So I don't know if I asked you this last time or not. I don't remember. So why Elton? Of I'm sure you have plenty of influences or icons that you like. Why Elton John of all of the people that you may have looked up to?
Well, so I never considered being a musician until I was maybe 15 or 16 years old. And I heard his live in Australia record, which most people don't know, but there's it's the most complete record I had ever heard to that point in my life, because it has everything. It has rock and roll in it, it has ballads. He even has pieces of music that sound classical. I'll play a few notes of this. This is a song called Tonight that's on that record, which is not a well-known song of his, but listen to what this sounds like. I mean, that's got a real classical feel to
That's
it.
what I was about to say. Very
Of
classical.
course,
Yeah.
that's his first influences. But when I heard that record, I was like, ooh, maybe I could play the piano, and maybe I could be a musician. And then I started learning his songs, and so my origin story really is it really, as a musician, really is his music first. And then I remember I was in college, and I had started dabbling with writing, but not really. And I was in this big chorus group, and we had all these events and stuff, and so invariably someone would go over to the piano and start playing. And so one night I did, and people were paying attention, and maybe a year and a half into this, and I'd act like a ham mostly, and make up silly songs. Like I made up a song called Moo Goo Gai Pans, like a Moo Goo Gai Pan, and I remember one of my friends pulled me aside, and she said, when are you going to start writing original music? And that didn't really occur to me. And then suddenly, I thought I tried a little bit, and but then she saw something in me that maybe I didn't see in myself. And then soon after that, I was writing tons of songs and sharing my ideas, and it just always felt like that's what I should be doing. And so they take that origin story of and so then I'm learning all this Elton John early on, and then getting better and better at it, then bringing my own music into it, and then it's always felt like the two are connected, and it's hard to separate them out. It's always been hard to separate myself out from it, as even my identity as a musician. It's hard to separate myself out from that early influence. So that's why Elton. And yeah, there
So
are
I
plenty
want
of.
to
Yeah, go ahead.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say there are other musicians I play, but I don't play nearly as much as their catalog, and so there are times when I brand myself as my own show, but invariably three or four Eltons still sneak in. So I may as well do both. I enjoy doing both.
Yeah.
And I don't feel limited by it necessarily, but I do like to sometimes just advertise as me and then just do my own show, and sometimes I do that.
One of the things I love to do is bring the Mosaic attitude into the thread of the show. So when you walk down the lane here and you look at I'm going to be safe, he's definitely been an artist for every bit of 40 years. I'm probably 10 to 20 years light on that, I'm assuming. Elton John.
Oh, Elton?
Yeah.
Oh, he's 70. He's 79. So almost coming on like in terms of being world famous. He's more than 50 years into that. Yeah.
There you go. So when he transcends that, I believe that if you were 50 years from now, you would still listen to his music, right?
I think so.
So he transcends generations. So when you develop and you kind of fortify yourself into your own thread of music, as well as the influence of him and given your show, how have you taken yourself from this 10-year set to this 10-year set and then over the next 10 years? How does that look for you from an artist standpoint?
So it's interesting. My life in music is more jagged than I care to admit. In part because just my obligations have been the way they've been, and so you have jobs and you have family, and so I do think the next few years I'll be focusing more on music, and so it'll be interesting to see what the platform looks like over say 5 years from now. But I'll answer that question. So in terms of like market share, hey, I'm on Facebook, I do some shows, people come to my shows. I'm not sure there's a huge difference over the last 10, 15 years, but I think I'm a better player. And I think I keep getting better and keep stacking hours. And is it 10,000 hours to being an expert? I've got maybe 30,000 hours on the piano, and so there are things like 5 years ago I probably couldn't have performed this song, but I can perform it now, pretty well. You can never know what it's like. Blood like winter freezes just like ice, and there's a cold and lonely light shines from you. You wanna like the wreck you hide behind that mask. Okay, I'll cut to the chorus. I'm still standing better than I ever did, looking like a true survivor, feeling like a little kid. I'm still standing after all this time, picking up the pieces of my life without you on my mind. I'm still standing. You want to sing that yeah, Nick.
Yeah.
But so I just think I've evolved as a player, and I hear notes better than I ever did before. I think I sing them better. I'm still peaking, I think, as a singer. Like a lot of singers, if they're rough on their voices, they're I wouldn't say they're shot by my age, but it's certainly in Elton's case. I mean, he hammered his voice and had throat surgery in 1987, and so by the time he was my age, he was not singing much in falsetto. I still have my full falsetto. I still have my highest range. So I still think I'm probably as good as I'll ever be. And hopefully I'll get a little bit better, but there's been no drop-off in my performing, so I'm pretty excited about that, I'd say.
Sal, I got to say something real quick, and then Nick's going to ask you something here, but I want to say something that, like, you're the Ponce de Leon of music, because you drink from the fountain of youth, because every time I see you get revved up before your voice hits, you come alive through, sorry, I'm not musical, but you come alive through that. To me, it's always sports. It's not about me, but you always come alive to get your hands going. And I will say this, I noticed that your hands were moving, in my terms, fast and furious on that classical piece. And that was amazing. Muscle memory is what I'm going to call it, because, man, there's no way that I could ever get my fingers to move that way, and then let alone have to sing on top of that. So tell me a little bit about how you can do both of those and blend them in together and have fun and make yourself come alive throughout your music.
Well, first of all, thank you for the comment about coming alive. You said that last time too, and I remember that, and I really like that. And actually, what you're touching on there is very similar to what comes out in my song "Now's the Time." When we're energized by something, we need to be doing more of that, right? Like if we're enjoying something, that is something to pay attention to. And I think too often in life we forget to pay attention to where we're energized or where our intuition is saying yes, indeed. So thank you for pointing that out. I think I always like the great musicians. Think of like Oscar Robinson, George Winston is someone. I think Elton would say the same thing. They're all great students, and they're just trying to get better. And a lot of the great musicians would compare themselves to a guy named Art Tatum, or a guy named Keith Jarrett, who are just like A plus 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 musicians. And some of them will say things like, I listened to this person play music and then I couldn't play the piano for a month because I just couldn't even come close to being as good as him or her. And so I think when you have that kind of standard, you have to just be humble and say, all right, let me just see if I can get to the next level for me. Let me compare myself not to them but to me. And so yeah, over time you get a lot better at being able to sing over, at first it's hard just to even keep a beat, and then you're trying to do some flourishes and different things and learn different elements of music, different chords. Nick's a musician. I've seen Nick play really well. I'm sure you have a similar story where maybe you couldn't do some things at first, and then as you develop, as you practice, and you get better at it. And then, hopefully at a certain point it becomes a little bit effortless. Like I came up with this riff in my 20s, and then I didn't play this song for a long time, and then I had to relearn it. But I have a song that goes... And, things like that are really interesting to try to almost make it sound orchestral. I mean, someone paid a really nice compliment to me. She actually said it to my wife, not me, but she said that when I play, it's like a whole orchestra, and I thought that was a really nice compliment. Billy Joel's song, the piano sounds like a carnival, he says, in Piano Man. So I always want to sound a little bit like a carnival when I'm playing.
So one of the best memories I had, actually, that you may not realize is when you came into Carmel, we sat in XYZ Hotel. I apologize. I don't remember it.
The Carmichael, yeah.
That was a lot of fun. Yeah.
But I felt kind of like...
We're going back there.
I felt like kind of like a, I don't know how to say this, but like it was almost like it was cool to see you in that environment in front of the crowd and letting yourself go. But at the same time, it was also cool to see you post show, decompressing a little bit, just being very natural, hanging out. And that was a cool room that we sat in, because to give the audience some perspective, it was like, in my best way, it was like somebody's den, a library, but a very comfortable setting to kind of hang out in. So I know that might be a simple offshoot of the show itself, but we really want to encourage you to get out in that Carmel area, because not only is the hotel and the venue beautiful, it's just a lot of stuff that are picturesque. You've got some musicians on the square. It looks like some blues type, performers and stuff there that you can get your pictures in front of. So it's just it's a phenomenal venue. And I think you fit very well for that, part of the city that's kind of a, I don't know, Nick, is it fair to call it maybe like an arts district or a music district, something?
I would say it's just it's a better side of town. It's probably the best side of town of Indianapolis when it comes to economically and like that kind of thing. So, but I wouldn't necessarily call them an arts district, but
Fair.
that area right there, yeah, I would say that all of the architecture and everything they have going on in that part of Carmel, it epitomizes Carmel pretty well, which is not a bad thing at all. It's a compliment.
Yeah, it seems like a very livable space. And
it is.
And the sort of place where people, can have their life in a very small area. Like you can just walk and here's your store over here, here are your restaurants over here. You know,
Yep.
you want to have a nice drink at the Carmichael, you can do that. If you want to go over to the Allied Solutions Center and enjoy a show, you can do that. And then there's some parks in the area. There's some bike paths. So yeah, it's really really pretty. I guess it's been specially developed in some ways too, to kind of give it that sort of feel. So yeah, it's a beautiful part of the area, part of the area, and Allied does a nice job with their shows. I encourage people to see Gladys Knight. Come see me. And you know, I also have an agreement with them where I do plan to return to the area even after this show.
Cool.
Do some more performances over the next few years. So you guys might get tired of me when this is all said and done.
Nah. Hey, we'll just keep the charcuterie coming, right?
That's right. That's right.
Exactly.
Now, so last year I was there, and the Pacers had just been in the finals and didn't quite
Yep.
get it done. But then in the fall, something magical happened. Into the winter, a little something.
I'm slipping on you, Sal.
called the
Let me know what it is, and I'll know.
A little something called the National Championship in football.
Oh yeah. Sorry, I missed your cue there. Well, why do you think I got Hoosier Red on, Sal? Come on now.
There we go. I mean,
So, yeah,
part of
that-
me wants. I do want to come out in a Mendoza jersey, but that might be overplaying it, don't you think?
Nah. I don't think they're tired of him yet, right? Like you still see him everywhere.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you this, Sal, and I'm going to make a bold statement. We're reloading. Everybody thinks we're going away. We're top 5 again. We got a quarterback that threw for 9,600 yards and 80 touchdowns. So if they think IU's going away anytime soon, it ain't going to happen. They're
I don't know.
that was
Kurt knows what
historical,
he's
though, man.
doing. That was a
Seeing them
great
get to
run.
500 over the years and not doing it.
So, do you have to be like on to be singing, or do you do a lot of casual singing, like walking down the street at work, in the shower,
Oh.
like whatever it might be?
Well, so my 14-year-old daughter and I almost always take a walk after work for me and after school for her, and so today she just started singing about our dog, who we were walking,
Aw.
and we made up a little hymn as we were going. So
Really?
yeah, music comes to
That's
me
super
for
cool.
sure, and so sometimes yeah, I definitely I don't have to like be on to perform, and I probably play my piano every day, just about every day. So yeah, I'd say maybe 1 in 10 times I don't necessarily feel like it and try to push myself through it, and then 10 minutes in I'm into it. So yeah, it doesn't take much to get me to play or want to play, and sing. But in terms of I do prefer to. I think I sound better when there's musical accompaniment. So I probably don't
get it.
sing a
Yeah.
ton a cappella. Yeah.
Do you feel like that
I'm not
anybody
as-
can learn to sing, or do you think that
Yeah.
like if with the proper, say, vocal coaching, whatever it is, like do you feel like anybody can learn to sing?
Well, it's a muscle, and so you can, like, if someone were to lift weights for the first time and not feel like they were particularly strong, no one would be surprised by that. But for some reason with music, like the first time you try to sing, if you don't do it particularly well, people are like, "Oh, you're not a good singer. You shouldn't try." And I think that's not true. So the first time I ever sang publicly, I was in a musical in high school, and I remember the guy who was coaching. I had a guy coaching me on how to sing. And I said to him, do you think I'd ever be a good singer? And he's like, no. And I didn't give him a lot of reason to think that I'd be a good singer because, I was new to it, and I was new to tonality, and my dad videotaped the show, and I don't think the video's been lost to history, but I was not a good singer in the show, but you could hear every now and again. You could hear, oh, there's something there. There's something there. And so, when I started to learn how to sing and use my diaphragm and not sing just from here, but to sing from my body, I became a lot better and got better a lot faster. And so, I don't. It's probably a spectrum where, like, if you start at a 1, you can probably get yourself to 5 or 6. Now, if you start at a 7, those are the people who wind up at 10, and I
Right.
don't
Right.
I never
That's cool.
I would
Never
never
heard
claim
that.
to be a great singer, but um, I do think I've gotten better and better and better to the point where I can be a professional singer, and that's really all I care to be. I don't have to be anything. I don't have to be Pavarotti or something, but yeah, so I mean, some people probably can't hear tonality. They probably can't hear the notes, and probably can't produce them. But I think if you can learn to, match pitch reasonably well and can hear it reasonably well, you can get better and better at that skill. I think it's a muscle. And then
I've always
similarly,
wondered if
there are
that was
plenty of people. Yeah, there are plenty of people who can sing, quite well, and then don't use that gift, and then they come out and they try to sing, several years later, and you hear them, you go, but it's because they haven't been practicing. That happens to veteran singers or sort of so-called famous people all the time. That they just don't keep it up, and then they come out to try to do some performance that and it doesn't work. I think you also have to understand your limitations. Like, you shouldn't be trying to sing out of range and that sort of thing. You shouldn't try to sing stuff that's too high for your voice.
That's what auto-tune's for, right?
Auto-tune.
Sal, the question I got to ask you is this is not about me, but I got to tell about me just for 30 seconds to transition into what I want to ask you. So there's only been one or two times in my life when I've been in the zone with sports.
Ooh.
Like, I'm talking hitting like 18, 19 shots out of 20, playing, just dusting people on the basketball court is the example I'm going to give you. What does it take for you to get in, quote unquote, the zone as a musician? Because when I was in that zone, I couldn't hear people talking. Everything was slow motion. It was like something straight out of a movie. Like, how do you or have you experienced that? I'm sure that you have, but how does that come full circle as a musician to actually feel and be composed in the moment?
So I don't want to freak you guys out. So I'm going to tell you this, but please don't freak out. Okay. So I think it requires a sequence of events that have to occur. The first thing that has to happen is I think I just have to be very relaxed, right, and not feel nervous, not be. This has happened before. I'll be playing. I'm like, and I'll be like, my budget at work. I've really, I can't believe we're going to be over budget on this one line. I've got to talk to somebody about that. And I'm like playing in front of 100 people at a show. It's terrible. So I have to be focused on what I'm doing. The second element is I think I'll be very honest about this. I am what you might call an empath. So I take on other people's energy. Which sometimes if I'm in the presence of people and like the energy is very negative, I will take that energy on and I have to like leave the room because that's just not good for me to be around such negative energy. So if I feel like the audience is on my side, and almost all audiences are, but if you get to that point in the show, then that's the second element where you feel like you're in the zone. And then you asked, how do I know? So here's the third thing. This is crazy, though. So this has only happened maybe 3 times. But I felt myself. I'm not going to say I left my body. I'm not going to tell you that. But I felt a sensation of floating somewhat, where everything that I was doing physically, I was so in control of it that I was almost out of control with it, and almost not fully present in my own physical body, and I felt a sensation of floating, and that's happened I think maybe 3 times.
Sal, thanks so much for sharing. Absolutely, thanks so much for sharing that, because you can't be more right. You're not hearing people, you're not acting. Your steps, even though you're sprinting, feel very faint. Like somebody asked you what happened, and what happened to me is my last name was on my basketball jersey, and people were making fun of me before I even started playing, and I was like, I'm going to get you. And music, it's different because you're getting that crowd, you're getting that amped up. But I'm telling you, I 100% love that answer, because that gets me super excited, because to me that's a professional taking pride in your craft, being excited, preparation meets, practice meets preparation, which means, you're just killing it. So that was a really cool response that you gave me, and kind of correlates. Sports and music have a lot of correlations, in my opinion.
Thank you. Let me link that back to something we were talking about a little while ago. I'm getting a quick note there. Something we were talking about a while ago, which is that's where when you're in that feeling, that's where you're supposed to be. Like, you're not supposed to be anywhere else. That's where fate is meeting you in that moment and shaking your hand, so to speak. So, yeah, I think what you just said was awesome. Yeah, and that's great that I never felt that as an athlete. I'm, intramural sports or something.
Understand.
I can't say I ever felt that sensation of floating. Had my share of good flag football games back in the day, but I can't
There
say
you go.
I felt like I was floating. But you should watch the Dan Patrick interview with Rich Eisen. This was Sports Center. Dan Patrick talks about playing a basketball game with Stuart Scott, and reminded me of what you just said about guys making fun of you and your jersey or whatever, and you thinking, "Oh no, here I come." So Dan Patrick's story about playing basketball at Stuart Scott's pretty compelling, and it's in that same kind of genre. So check that out.
It's not much of a stretch to tell you that you're an innovator. You do stuff. You take chances. Stuart Scott was just phenomenal. That brings a tear to my eye just to hear that name, because he put his heart and soul on the microphone, and a lot of that was not scripted. Like, I watched there's a guy that does country music and he does mashups, but it's super cool to see him take a country song and make it into rap. You can do stuff on cue. Hey, do this. And it's nice to see. I call that ad lib, even though it's not ad lib because it's prepared, but at the same time, it's just acting, reacting, going with it, and making a cool composition.
I love that. Yeah, Stuart was an innovator for sure, and sometimes we don't realize. I mean, it's so interesting to look back on that history. I think we took it for granted when it was happening, but now what a great time, the '90s, early 2000s for sports media. Good stuff.
So the question I have for you is, when you look at a song title for where you're at in your career musically, you're on the spot just a little bit, but what's the name of that song to show to our audience where you're at in the journey that you're currently on with music?
A song called "Nothing Is Perfect," I would say. I'll play a little bit of that. In these moments I've seen you struggle with what you should decide. Back and forth between the lines, the voices in your mind. Pros and cons and arguments that could make a senator groan. But in your life the greatest things are those you don't control. And nothing is perfect. It's supposed to be that way. From the height of your emotions to the fickleness of fate, but don't be afraid to open that distant door. It hurts like hell to see you go, but to see you sad hurts more. Nothing is perfect. Nothing we do is ever going to be, 100%, but we should strive, and as we make our decisions, make our calls on things, we try to do the best we can. We make a good decision and then try to make that a great decision. So I think that's how I feel about my pursuit of music. Never going to be the perfect musician, but never going to have the perfect show. But always striving to connect, always striving to give folks something that they can go home and be really inspired by.
Mosaic Mind listeners, I gotta say this out loud, that Sal is the only guy that we've had on here that's a perfect segue. Like, I didn't even plan for you to play something, and you just hit a home run with it. I mean, it was almost like, we prefaced that, beforehand. So I want to tip my cap to you, because you killed it. Natural segue, perfect song, perfect ending. With that being said, Nick's going to talk just a little bit about maybe the upcoming show, And then any last thoughts, or maybe a number that you want to do, and we'll kind of go from there.
Yeah. So we got September 25th, right, at the Allied. Let me say it right because it's like 4 lines. The Allied Center of Performing Arts, I think, right? Is that right? The
Allied Solutions Center.
Allied Solutions Center for Performing Arts. Yes. And it's in the and then there's another one too, because that's the actual room that it's in is the is it the studio room?
Oh yeah,
right?
the studio.
I have all this written down, and this will be on the
Yep.
screen.
Yep.
The studio. Okay.
Yeah.
But it's
nice.
very nice. Very nice. They have they have a
Nice.
nice little bar out there, and little. I think there's a couple different rooms near that as well.
Right.
But yeah,
Right.
real nice.
Yes.
So the 25th tickets, I believe, are $39 if I remember correctly. And you can get that. We'll have the website on here that you can get those. There is limited seating, and if you want to sit next to the person that you're coming with, you need to make sure that you get your tickets ahead of time, so that way you're not all spread out. But yeah, like Jason was saying, Sal, before you, we'll let you close out with a song if you'd like. But where can everybody find you?
Oh, well, I think the best spot to find me is either in YouTube, which is just Salvador Liberto over on YouTube. That's where I have tons of videos you can see and enjoy some music. And then my Facebook page is pretty active too, so look for me, Salvador Liberto Musician, over on Facebook. Those are probably 2 best options right now. And I'll play a little Daniel for you to close things out.
Okay.
Daniel is traveling tonight on a plane. I can see the red tail lights heading for Spain. I can see Daniel waving goodbye. It looks like Daniel must be the clouds in my eyes. Daniel, my brother, you are older than me. Do you still feel the pain of the scars that won't heal? Your eyes have died, but you see more than I. Daniel, you're a star in the face of the sky. Thank you, Mosaic Minds.
It's great. Thanks, Sal. Appreciate you being with us again. This has been
Pleasure
fun.
seeing you guys.
And I'm excited to see you in person.